You don't need fancy gear or a Hollywood studio to make YouTube videos. This video right here that you're watching was shot and edited entirely on my iPhone. I've been doing this for years, and I'm gonna show you exactly how to edit a YouTube video from start to finish right here on your iPhone. When I first started, I thought I needed the best camera, the perfect mic, maybe even a degree in video editing. I mean, have you seen Final Cut and Premiere Pro? But what I learned is you can absolutely make high quality videos with just your iPhone and a little bit of patience. And today, I'm gonna walk you through my full workflow from importing clips to trimming, adding music, and exporting. No BS, just the basics to get you publishing fast. For today's demo, I'm gonna actually show you all my editing steps on my iPad. And there's two reasons for that. One is, as I've mentioned many times, I shoot on my iPhone. So it's very difficult for me to be shooting this video and showing me edit another video on my same iPhone. The second reason is because using my iPad actually gives you a bigger screen to see when I'm doing the screen capture on my iPad. So it's easier for you to see what I'm actually doing. In all reality, the app that I'm gonna show you is the same for the iPhone as well as the iPad. And I'm actually gonna be doing all this editing sitting out here in my yard because I wanted you to see that I don't need to be in any kind of studio to do all this. I spent a whole month on the Colorado Trail with my son, recording and vlogging the entire trip every day on my iPhone. And every night and every afternoon when I was laying in the tent and relaxing and trying to recover from the day of hiking, I would sit there and edit each of the videos on my iPhone. And then I would have them ready so that when I did get into service, I could upload them to YouTube on pretty much a daily basis. That workflow showed me that I can edit and shoot anywhere and still get good quality video. All right, so let's show you guys how it's done. So let's hop in to LumaFusion. The first thing you want to do is go in here and you'll see on the bottom left. So you can see where some of my past projects that I had are here listed. And so down here in the bottom left, you'll see there's some areas here where we go about adding new. So if you hit the little button there with the cross in it, that will actually bring up the create a new project. So here is where you're gonna name your project and give your project your descriptions of what you want the timeline to be. So for me at this point, typically I've already identified what I wanted my titles to be and even probably made my thumbnails for YouTube. I typically like to do that a lot before I even start down recording anything. And so here, normally what I do just to keep it simple and easy is I will just name it the same thing as I have for the video. But for the sakes of this show here, I'm just gonna name it test footage. And so then you'll see here's where you can actually change your frame rate, your aspect ratio, and your color space if you want to. For me, I don't ever fill these out, so I'll click on them here just so that you can see. So here, like for frame rate, you can choose whether you shot in 30 frames per second, 24, 60, 120, whatever you want it to be. For me, I typically shoot in the same frame rate with everything that I do, so it's normally not that big of a concern for me. But if for whatever reason you'd rather do it this way, then you can fill it out here. Typically for me, because I shoot everything in 4K and 24 frames per second, once you throw that first clip into the timeline, which you'll see here in a minute, it automatically sets the timeline to the same settings as what that footage is. So I don't fill this stuff out. I just hit the plus sign or hit the plus sign right there and it'll create the new project. So now it opens up for us a blank new project. So I will give you a quick showing here, just real quick, like of kind of what everything is. And so here, starting on the left is your media center. And so this is where you're gonna see all of your stuff. So here you already see the videos that I had set aside in order to do this walkthrough for you guys. But if I click there on that flower, you can see where you have the choices of where you want to pull your images from. So right now I put those images on my iPad, so I didn't have to be pulling my external hard drive and other things out here with me. But typically I would be, because I would have a lot of footage for a day's shoot and it would be too much for my iPad. So I would have it on an external hard drive. And so if you're doing that, you could just click on the linked folders button there, and then you could come in here and say add a folder, and then it'll let you search through all the folders on there. And so for me, like, my external hard drive is Seagate, so I could go in and find Seagate and add it. And then once it's added in there, it would show up in the list of what you got. But for the sakes of here, what I have is actually in my photos album here. And so you'll do there. So you want to do your best to kind of organize this before you get into a project. And so I always recommend that you put everything, in one folder for your project. And if you're going to have A-roll and B-roll, you could have a folder for A-roll, have a folder for B-roll, or you can use a naming convention and name, it all B-roll 1 through 10, or however you want to do it, so that you can, easily find what you're looking for on that. But you want it in one location so that when you get it here in the media center, it's all accessible for you and you're not having to kind of back in and out to finding stuff. So then next, the area there to the right, as you'll see, I'll click on one of the videos here. That's going to be our actual editing area here. And so this is going to show you, the video that you've got on. It'll allow you to scrub through. We'll talk through some of that here in a minute. And then right below it there is going to be your timeline. So you can see right now there's nothing on the timeline. It's blank. But we're gonna fix that here in just a second. I'm basically just going to show you the basics, but I want you to see that this is easy. It doesn't take a lot of effort to shoot on your phone, do a little edits to make it a little bit better than basically just posting it straight from your phone, to where you can get a little bit more of a professional looking video to hopefully get yourself more views on YouTube. So let's start off. So you can see here, I've got quite a few different videos here, and these are all different clips that I'd taken along the way. And so, as I mentioned, these are some of the highlights from that trip. And so I want to start off my first, 10 to 20 seconds of my video with an intro that's showing those highlights. So I'm going to click on this one here. And so this shows you here the lake here. And so as you look at this here on the lake, you look here in your viewing screen, and right under it, there are some controls. I'm not going to go into every single one of them, but I'm going to teach you the basics. So if you were to click on the play button there, it will play the whole clip for you. As you can see there, it's kind of playing through, and it's a 30-second clip, right? So it's going to play through the whole thing and show me what that clip looks like. I can also, if you see the little bar there that's scrolling across, I can also put my finger on that and then grab it, and I can actually move it through and scrub through this a lot faster with my finger. So basically, I can scrub through this really quick and see that this was just a basic shot I did of the lake. This is the beautiful place I was hiking out to that day. I didn't really do any panning or anything in it because I knew that I could do something and edit. So we'll show you how to kind of make that a little bit better as we go along. I typically set a standard range of around 3 to 5 seconds when I'm kind of trying to make my cut. So for here, because this is all pretty much the same, it really doesn't look like it matters much where I go. So I'm just going to pick a spot here. And then your brackets here, you're going to see your bracket there and then your bracket on the right. These are your in and outs, right? So if I'm going to, I click the one on the left, and that now moves this yellow bracket up to say, that's where I want this clip to start. And then I'm just going to kind of scrub through here a little bit and go, let's do an out one there. And so then what you can see there is that I've got a 3.02 second clip, right? So if I want to let my OCD get the better of me, and I want it to be right on 3 seconds, then boom, I can move that one a little bit. Now I've got a 3-second clip there. So then if you hit this little back button here, what that'll do is it's going to push you back to the end, or to the previous end point that you had on the thing. So I click it, it goes back to the beginning there of my in, and then now you can see that my out on the other bracket there has moved over too as well. And so now I can hit play, and it'll play only that 3-second clip. Boom. All right, so I've got my 3-second clip. So from right here, there's multiple ways that we can add this to our timeline. So, and as I mentioned earlier, the only thing you want to make sure when you're adding that first clip to your timeline is if you didn't fill out that stuff before, make sure that you're adding in the clip that is the frame rate that you want to be able to save and export to. So if you did shoot some 60 frames per second, but you want it to be in 24 frames per second in order to upload to YouTube, make sure whatever first clip you put in here is 24 frames per second. So for me, it is. And so now there, like I said, multiple ways to do this. But if you look right here underneath the viewing screen there, the little symbol there that shows a couple of timeline blocks and then an arrow pointing down. Basically, the button that will take that 3-second clip and it will plop it right down in my timeline. So there are a couple other, I'll show you a couple other quick ways too as well to get that down in the timeline. So if you go over here to your media center list where you, and you can see I've got the clip selected. If I held down with my finger on that same clip, you'll see it pulls up a 3-second clip right there. Now I can pull that down and I can put it in the timeline wherever I wanted it. You can also, one other method too is to just, as long as you've got here, as long as you've got your media section in that, your video selected, and you've got your 3-second already put your ins and outs, you can also just double tap on that and it will also add it in to your timeline. So you can see it just put in the 3 different things there in the timeline. So, all right, for the sake of this, I'm going to delete those 2. And then we're going to move on. So now I'm just going to let you watch me a little bit. I'm going to add in a few more of these clips real quick so you can just kind of see me do that. So I'm going to, I think, go next to this one. So you'll see here, you can see where this one is just kind of a side shot of me and Moose hiking down the trail. But I really liked the turn right here and how that kind of turns into, and it really just leads you into, you know, where we're going and other things. So I like that. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put my end right there. And then I'm just going to kind of scrub forward a little bit to see where do I want this to stop. So Moose kind of goes off trail there. That's a little distracting. So I don't want that. So I'm going to actually come back, put my out there, and then I'm going to just move my end back a little bit, I think. So I'm going to bring that back 3 seconds. There we go. 3 seconds exactly. Not that it really matters if you're 0.0 of a second off. But okay, so now we've got that one. Now I'm gonna just play it to make sure it is what I want it. Yeah, I like that. All right, and so now I'm gonna drop it down. I hit the button right there. We're gonna drop it down onto the timeline. All right, let's see, what else do we have over here? Let's go with the waterfall next. For this one, so here, we'll just do a quick scrub here of this video so you can see it's Moose walking up, me thinking he was going to go all the way into the waterfall and freaking out and grabbing his leash. Okay, so what I think I really liked here was that beginning, him walking into the water. Yeah, so we're just going to go right there and just use the first 3 seconds of that clip. And now let's just play it. As you can tell, like, for example, that clip is super loud. So I will show you here in just a little bit how we fix that. But now, for now, we've got our 3-second clip done. We're going to hit our little down button there and we're going to drop that down into our timeline. Let's see. Now we've got that left and that left. Let's see. This one I think kind of is more of the lake. I want to end with that one, I think. So this one here is more of some B-roll of me hiking. So this is another one of those scenarios where, you know, it's a tip to kind of make your videos look a little more pro. So, right, you see I set my camera up, the phone up on the tripod there. And then I went hiking all the way up here just to be able to get a shot of me crossing that bridge way off there, right? And then, of course, what did I have to do? I had to come and turn around and then hike all the way over here to get my tripod. But I really like that shot of me crossing the bridge. So we're going to go about right there. I'm going to put my end point there with our beginning. And then we'll just show you another way here. We can just grab that last bracket, scrub it back. And now I'm going to scrub it back. So this one, I think 3 seconds is really not enough for this one. So I'm going to grab 5 seconds on this one. So now I got a 5-second clip there. And so let's just kind of really quick play it back. And so now it shows me crossing the bridge. Now the challenge with this shot is like it takes the eye a bit for them to see the movement of me. And so we can do some things to add that and make that a little bit better here. But for now, we're just going to toss it in our timeline. All right, then we've got this clip here, which is Moose and I relaxing there at the lake. So this is another one of those, everybody's always asking me, oh, you were out by yourself. How did you get pictures of you guys out there? I'm like, well, that's because I set my phone up on a tripod and take video. But here, so I can scrub through it really quick, and I'll see that, yeah, this was me just trying to shoot some B-roll and pretend to, I don't know what I was trying to pretend. Maybe I was pretending to nap. I don't really like the napping portion there. I don't think I like how it looks. So I'm going to scrub forward a little bit to where I picked my head up. I like that because it looks like we're both looking off into the distance, which makes people wonder, what are they looking at? And then that draws your eye further into the image to the legs. So we're going to do that, and then now we'll scrub that back to 3 seconds or so there. And so see, I'll let myself get away with not having a perfect 3 seconds, and we're going to go with 3.01. So we're going to drop that one in the timeline. And then this here, so I just threw this in here. So of course, the video that I ended up with was, you know, probably 20, 30 minutes long. And so we're not going to, of course, go through that in this demo, but this is the very first thing. So after I went into the intro, then this was a clip that I would use to start my video. And so I'm going to add this one into this and not just do the intro portion of it, so that you can see how I edit some of the audio portions of when you're talking. So for those of you that are doing talking heads and other things, this would be beneficial for you as well too. So all right, so I had already kind of selected that earlier. You can see this was just, you know, me walking up from setting the tripod up and then me walking away. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pick that clip right there, and we're gonna now drop it in the timeline. So now we've got our whole timeline, right? So for me, typically in my workflow, I would go through and add everything and build out my timeline with all of my shots. And then I would come back and start to do some of my edits. You can do it differently. You can do it whatever suits you. You know, pick whatever's going to be the best for you to do it. If you want to edit along the way, you know, whatever your workflow is, it will work for you. So let's see here. So now what we're going to do, so typically for these type of things, I like to call out that it's the intro and let people know that that's what they're watching. And so I'm going to add in, so if you go down here now to your timeline, you can see right below the timeline, there's some options and stuff for you. So we're not going to go through every single one of those. That can be a future video if you guys are interested for me to do a more in-depth version of LumaFusion. Granted, now I am not a pro with a lot of this, and so there are a lot of things about this app that I don't even know about. So I'm trying to learn as I go along too as well. But I'll tell you what I did right here. And so if you come down there, there's a plus, you know, the circle there with a plus in it. If you click that, it'll tell you some things that you can add. So you can add voiceovers, like if for some reason you forgot something when you were out there and you were talking, or you said something wrong and you wanted to correct it later when you're editing and just do a voiceover over the video, you could do that. You can add transitions, you could add a blank clip, you could add title page if you wanted to. I particularly don't do title pages on my stuff, or you could do a text overlay. So that's what we want to do here, is we want to add some text that's going to overlay over the video, right? And so you'll see what it did is it now threw this little clip here above the video. And so basically the rule of video editing is, and this is one of the things that really makes LumaFusion different from, say, CapCut, is you can have up to 6 different stacks of video clips on your timeline and 6 audio stacked up. So it gives you ability to really edit a little bit more and have a little bit more structure onto what you do. Now, it doesn't mean that CapCut doesn't have some shortcuts that allows you to do some of these things for you. You just don't have a lot of that creative capability to do forward on it. So it just kind of puts it up there as a standard length for that, and you can see what the text is there. But now, of course, we don't want it to just say that, right, as we go across our video, so we wanted to edit that. So you can see now that it's highlighted. So if I click off of it, now it highlights the video. If I click back on it, it highlights the text portion there. So now if we come down below the timeline there, you see the little pencil icon there. The pencil is your edit button. And so if you click that button, it will bring you into the edit panel here. Now, there are many things that you can do in this edit panel, and we'll cover a few of those as we're going through this demo. But for now, we're going to stick to the text. And so you'll see here to the top right that it gives you a bunch of templates for how you could actually, you know, set up your text. So it's all about, like, what are you trying to do, right? You know, are you wanting there to be a title? Are you wanting to, you know, have something pop up at the bottom, or you want it to be a full page? You know, do you want to just kind of give a title, you know, like when you're kind of going into steps, like if you're doing an educational thing, you've got 4 steps in order to do something. Step number 1, you know, you could have something like that pop up. But for the sake of this one, I will show you guys, you know, one of my presets that I've created before in the past to do exactly into this video. And so at the very top there, you'll see that I have a couple presets that I've set. So once you've built this, if you hit this little plus sign right here that's with a square in it, you can actually, So with these, when you're using and you're changing the text, if you have something that you know that you're going to use on a regular basis and a recurring, once you've created what you want to create, if you come over here to right under that box where all the different options are there, you see the star with the plus in it. If you were to hit that, you can actually create your own little preset of text. So if you can see here for me, I have one right there that says in this video, because I do that a lot. So it puts a little shape there in the bottom left, and then some text in it, right? So if I click over there on the text, it will, that highlights the shape. So you can see right now on the drop down, it opened up the drop down menu there for the shape and so it shows me what I can do to edit that. So the biggest thing for me that I did for that, so like, do you see this square box here with a plus in it? Like if I wanted to add things, you can click on that, and then you can add text, you can add shapes, you can add images. So what I basically had done here was I clicked on the plus, added a shape, and then I just added a basic rectangle shape, and then made it the size that I want, moved it to where I wanted it. And then I came in here to this opacity scroller, and then that's where, I'd made it black, but I didn't want it to, really just completely overlay the picture. So I kind of wanted it to just be enough to highlight the text, but not be enough to really go on top of the picture. So I brought the opacity down. But there's so many different things you could do. You could change the color if you want it to be a white box, a purple box. You could do any of that. You can even put edges to it and change the opacity and the width to the edges, make it rounded. There's just so many different things that you can do. Moving it, where do you want it to be? You can change where it's going to be located, the rotation of it, and so forth. So like I said, play around with those kind of things, and you can eventually get it to where you want. But that's really all for on the shapes. And then if I click there on that drop down there for where it says your text here, that brings up the options that I have for the text. But then also, if I just come over here to the left and I just double tap on the text, it'll actually bring up my text box of what I have in there. And so I want to change this to in this video, ... And then I'm going to hit done. But here, so, in this portion here of your drop down, this is where you can go in. You can change like the opacity of the text if you want, if you don't want the text to be that bright. So for me, I wanted the text to stand out a little bit. You can choose what your font is. I just used a basic font for this one. I typically try to get more detailed into fonts whenever I'm doing some other things, but for this one, it was just basic and simple. You can kind of scroll here and choose a size, if you know what you got. I typically was good with there. And then you can also, like I said, there's just so many different things down here that you can do. Most of it's self-explanatory. What color do you want the font to be? Do you want it to have an edge? How much edge? What's the width of the edge? What's the opacity of the edge? Do you want it to have a shadow to it? So there's some other things you could do. I mean, there's so many things that other people are probably better at a lot of things, and knowing the science between putting a shadow to stuff, things more so than me, but you can center them, same kind of things as the others. You can tell it where you want it to go, and so forth and so on. So if you're trying to move the text around the screen, like for example, if you move this one slider here, you can move the text and get it kind of where you want it. You can also, right there next to where I was just kind of sliding that slider myself, if you see the arrows on both sides, sometimes if it's really hard when you're doing this on your phone or even your iPad, that to get it exactly where you want. And so you can just hit the arrow and it'll just move it over one little spot at a time there. So I think that looks pretty good right there. And so now we've got my text there. So now if you go up to the top left portion there of the screen, you'll see the back button. And so now once I've done everything that I want to do on this, I just hit the back button. It'll take me back to my timeline editor, and you'll see that it's changed the text and it's now done. So the one last thing I want to do on this is so I want this to say in this video for my whole intro, right? So I want it to go over all of these pictures. So you can see what I did there is I just grabbed on. So you select the thing that you want to edit, and you see the two arrows there. And so you can move it to the left, make it shorter if you wanted to, or you can move it to the right and make it longer for the text. So I want this text to now be over all of these videos here. So I'm just going to slowly inch it over until I get to here. All right, so now a couple other things I'll show you real quick just to kind of spice it up. So instead of it starting right off the bat, say you wanted to add a transition here, I'll show you how to do that. So make sure you're not clicked on your video or you'll add your transition to your video. So click up on your text, highlight it. Make sure you're at the point where you want to add the transition. So right now you see this blue bar here, I'm at the beginning. And so now I come back down here and I hit the plus sign again with our thing there, and I'm going to say add a transition. And it's just going to automatically add across this off. There are many ways that you can change that, transition to other things if you like it. Cross dissolve, I know a lot of times is your basic level, especially for me for text, it works really well. You can also, if you click there on the cross dissolve portion, it'll highlight that portion, which then if you hold down, it'll allow you to adjust the length of that cross dissolve. So for me, I'm okay with it being a second. So then now if I scroll back over and I hit play, you'll see that it's not there, and then it kind of dissolves in. And so then if I go to the end of this, maybe I want it to do the same thing on the out. And so I come over here, I click on the text, make sure that the blue bar is at the end, hit the plus and hit transition, and it will add in another cross dissolve there. And so now if I scroll back, hit play, you'll see that it dissolves out as it goes. All right, so that's your basic level there. And so the next things you kind of want to do, another thing I'll show you here real quick. Let's just say you get in here and you've got all your clips in and you realize and you start to play it back and you go, man, this 3 seconds just seemed a little long. I'm worried that I might lose somebody in that. So I want to actually take that 3 seconds and I want to cut it back to 2. So now you can see where I've placed myself 2 seconds into that timeline of that clip. And now if I come down here right under the timeline and if I hit the scissors button, I can actually cut that clip, right? But make sure you've got the right clip highlighted that you want. And then I hit the scissors button and you see now what it did is it cut that clip into 2 clips. So there's a 2-second clip and a 1-second clip. And so I want to highlight that 1-second clip and I am just gonna hit delete. So the trash can right there just deleted it and then it automatically adjusts the timeline over and brought it over to there. So the big trick though that you wanna watch is because now that I took a video out, it did not change my text. And so now my text is actually going past where I want it to go. So now I'm going to come back over here, click on that, hold down on that arrow button there, and just drag it back to being there. All right. Now, the next step really that you want to do in your videos is you want to do some form of audio adjustments. And typically you want to do a little bit of video and some color grading. We don't get into really in-depth stuff in this one because I wanted to keep it very beginner friendly. I myself am just now starting to learn a little bit more color grading for that, but I'm going to show you things that I've done in the last couple of years that are just simple, basic steps that can help you make your video be just a little bit better without really having to put a lot of effort into it. But it's another one of those reasons of why I really like LumaFusion, because you can do some of this in here. So if you remember when we had this going through here, you remember we went from me hiking to really loud waterfalls. So the first thing I want to do here is I'm going to edit that sound. So I'm going to click on the clip there of the waterfall, and I'm going to come back down under my timeline here, and I'm going to hit that pencil again. And now I'm going to bring up that edit screen. So now if you see at the bottom, I'll just kind of walk you through really quick. This is where we did the text earlier, right? And so now there's a couple different options that you have here. So at the very bottom there, if you click on the first one there, that one's a frame. And if you wanted to edit the frame or the fit or, do some other things to it, I'll show you later. We can do some of those. The next one over is speed and reverse. So if you wanted to adjust how fast a clip went and you want to speed it up or do some other things like that, you could do that in that one. There's a stabilize. I don't know that I hardly ever do anything in stabilize, but it's something that you can do if you needed to kind of deal with some shaky footage or some of that stuff. The next one is audio, which is what we're going to work in here next. But then the last one I'll just show you real quick is the color tab to be able to do color and effects. So let's go back to the audio tab now. And so now there's so many different things that you can do in this audio tab, and I know only a few of them. I'm slowly getting better with some of these as I'm slowly trying to teach myself a little bit more about how to work with that. But it can be a challenge. But you'll see here, one of the first things that you can do here is, so you got configuration, you got gain, you got pan, graphics equalizer. So much of that stuff to me is Greek, but the gain is basically an easy one. Basically what the gain means is you're going to pull down how loud this particular clip, because I'm editing the gain only in this clip. But if I push on that and I just slide that slider over, you can see there on the left that I can pull how loud that is. And so I'm going to pull it down a decent amount here. I think I'm going to come down to close to like -30 there and just see what it does. So then now I'm going to play over here, and then now that'll let me hear how loud it is. All right, so that maybe made it a little quieter than I want. So now I'm going to bring it back up a little bit more. Hit play again, a little louder. Let's come down a little bit more. Play. There we go. See, I think that's good. So now that I've done that, I've pulled the volume down on that. Now I can actually go back. So as I mentioned, there are all kinds of other things, and we'll talk through a couple of these other things here in a little bit, but I'm sure somebody who's a pro at LumaFusion could tell you how to do this probably better than me, but that's the base level of how I've done some of this. So I knew that when I played through, my clips, that I have this calm water, me hiking. See, that's not as, scare you out of your chair sound. And then we get into me talking. All right. So before we leave the audio, we'll do one more thing on the talking portion. So for this particular video, I did not have my wireless mic with me. And so the audio that you're hearing here is straight from the iPhone, which of course means it's picking up all kinds of other things. I swear by these days, I never go anywhere without my wireless mics anymore, which is exactly why I now have this really, really tiny, small, awesome DJI Mic Mini. This thing goes everywhere with me. I don't record without it anymore because it makes so much of this editing so much easier. But you can see here, I'll just let you listen again. So you can hear quite a bit of, a little bit of the background. Thankfully, it's not overwhelming and it's not, too bad. So really, you could probably leave it. But just to step it up a bit, I'm gonna edit it a little bit. So I'm gonna click on that clip. I'm gonna hit that pencil again at the bottom there and bring up that edit tab, which is I was in the audio, so that's gonna bring the audio here. So now, if you look up here in the top right, you'll see some menu options here. So here, this gives you different things that you can do. And like I said, this is where it gets well over my head with some of the edits. You could do limiter, you can do dynamic processor there. You click on the next one, delay, distortion, pitch, reverb, some different options that you have to add things. But the one that I'm particularly looking for, and I probably the only thing that I really use in this editing software for audio, because I'm not really good at knowing how to do the rest yet, is I come into here, and if you see right there at the bottom, the sound isolation. What this particular one is I learned this before, that it will take and isolate just your vocals, right? Which is really good, especially if you're doing a talking head video like we're doing right here. These are great ways to be able to get rid of a lot of those other sounds that you're hearing in the background. And so if I just click on that, you'll see that it added it now down here to this drop down of options that they have. And so in there, it gives you some options of like how much of that do you want added into the clip. And so for me, I've just found that 100% is good. I mean, for whatever reason, if you're in a scenario where you don't want to lose all of the background noise, then maybe you could drop it back to like 70 or 80% or something. So we're just going to play it back now and just kind of let you hear the difference. And as I play it, I will toggle the effect on and off so that you can kind of hear that subtle background noise that's now no longer there. So just kind of listen as I kind of toggle it on. We're at the trailhead of Crater Lake. It's going to be about a 2-day, one-night adventure. Do you hear the difference there? I mean, like I said, for this one, luckily there wasn't a lot going on around me, so it wasn't huge. But this could be a big deal. I mean, I've been in scenarios, if you've seen some of my other videos where I actually tested out some other mics, in the DJI Mic Mini and against some other cheaper mics that I had, like utilizing that is just game changer for some of your audio, especially if you're using a wireless mic. Use a wireless mic if you can. For me, this is one of the few things that, I'm all about here going, shoot, edit everything on your phone. But at some point, and it doesn't have to be an expensive one, there's plenty of other options. There's another video I did that lets you know the different options that you have for being able to use one. But using some form of mic and not just the mic on the phone will make a lot of your editing so much better. So, all right, so we've isolated that sound. So now I'm going to come back up here in the top left, and I'm going to go back again, and you'll see that it put those edits there into that. Trailhead of Crater Lake. It's going to be about a. All right. So now, for the most part, I think I'm pretty happy with my audio. So I think I'm going to just kind of stay with that for now. So let's go next to that color correction portion. So like I said, another one of those things, I am no pro by all means. There's some amazing people out there and some amazing videos on YouTube. Trust me, I watch them all the time trying to learn how to do some of this stuff. But I'm going to just show you the basics to help you get going so that you can get your videos out fast. So Let's just start with the first one there. So if we click on the video clip, we hit the little pencil down below again, brings up our edit tab. So now if you remember, the one on the bottom there, far right, was our color and effects. So if I click on that, that's gonna now bring up a whole bunch of presets and stuff it has for things. So if you see right here, so I'll just kind of go through some of the top there on the top right, the different options that you have there. So here's color. It's already got the color presets selected. So if I click the next one next to it, it'll open up some LUTs. So the LUTs can be really, really helpful, especially if, if you watch one of my other videos where I talk about how to really step your iPhone footage up to pro level. One of the things I tell you to do is to shoot in ProRes or another kind of Apple log shooting, so that it really helps you be able to pull back all of the colors and record everything that you have out there. And so for this particular video, this was a little while back, and I hadn't quite got into that. I've only recently started trying to teach myself how to do more color editing, and so I didn't actually shoot in that on that one. But then if you go through some of these other ones, there's some light work stuff here. So like, there's some options there for adding a vignette, there's some crazy things in here. I barely use any of these. Look at this, like a ripple. Like, that's just nuts. Who would do that? But all right. So I'll delete that. If you go to the next one, there's some, sharpen, blur. Like if you wanted to add some motion blur, you wanted to add some of those different things. Like there's just so many different things in here that you could potentially do. And, even some more of this really crazy stuff here. If you wanted to add some light rays or tunnels, and like you see the options here that you get. Like these kind of things you just don't get in something like CapCut. And then two, you've got some other Luma keyers and other stuff. This is the portion of stuff. You start trying to get into green screens. I played with that once, but I don't really know that much about how to do that. But that's this is kind of where you would do some of that. And then the star there is just for I don't really have anything saved, but if you were to save a certain settings that you like, then they would show up there. But so let's go back. One of the things that I've learned that I just kind of like to do is, because I really do like that cinematic look. And then to me, this was just kind of an easy way. So if you see right there, you've got a couple here that's called Filmic D flat, and you got version 2, and you got D log, and some of those. So especially if you shot in D log, this would really, really be beneficial for you. But for me, I've even found that even just adding them on my basic iPhone footage can be kind of cool. So you can see here where the Filmic D log version 2. So if you just put it on, you can see it just kind of adds a little bit more of that cinematic look. So for me, I kind of like it. Like I said, it's just basic. You can go over to the colors and actually, say if I was to click on original, I could then go down here and actually kind of work on saturation, vibrance, and some of that if I really wanted to edit some of those colors. But we're not going to do any of that for now, because like I said, I wanted to keep it basic. So we're just gonna put the LUT on there and leave it at that. So then now let's hit our back button. That'll bring us back. You'll see it made the changes. Now, one thing is I think that LUT could actually go pretty decent on every one of these shots. So I'm going to show you really quick how to copy that, and then so that you're not having to just do it to every single one. So now if I take the one that we just did, and see it's highlighted, if I come down here right below the timeline there and I click this little clipboard with a star in it there, it brings up a menu here that gives you the options, I should say, to cut, copy, or paste. And so for here, you see where it's got all of those options for the edit tools. Here, the ones you can see on the right are the 2 color ones. These are the ones that I actually want to actually copy. Like I don't want to highlight. By clicking on it and making it blue, it tells you that that's what you're going to do. I don't want to do any of the cuts or the sound edits that I've done. So I'm just going to copy the colors. And then now, if I come over here and click on this particular one, and then now I hit that clipboard again, now you can see I have the paste, and if I make sure that I only highlight the ones that I want, so I've got the 2 colors on the ends there, I'm going to hit paste attributes, and boom, we've got a good intro here. Yeah, so I'm really happy with this. This actually, I think, is if you were on my other channel, you'd probably see that this is probably very similar to what the actual intro looks like for the video, even though I edited it separately here for you. So that's done. So now that you're done, there are many, like I said, there's so many things that LumaFusion can do, but we're not really going to go into that here. These are the kind of things that, to me, I just wanted you to understand that if you're just starting out, don't be afraid of editing. It can be so simple. Like the few things that we did here, as you can see, it takes that footage and it just steps it up a little bit better than what it was coming directly out of my phone. And not to mention too, for me, because I had so many different cuts and angles and other things, I had to edit to be able to do that. So just know that it's not that difficult for you to do. And as you saw, I did this all sitting right here on my iPad. But I do it a lot because to me, a lot of times I don't want to carry this thing out with me, especially not backpacking when I don't want the extra weight. So I edit my videos on my phone. So the last step that I'm going to show you real quick, like here, is to now how you've taken it, you've built your timeline, you got everything how you want it. Now we're going to export this out. So if you look in the bottom right corner here, the the little symbol there with the arrow pointing up, and that's going to give you your export options, right? So you can either export it as a movie, you can export audio only. I mean, there's quite a few different things here that you can do, but for the sake of this demonstration, we're just going to export this out as a movie. It now then ask you where do you want to do it. You can directly upload to these YouTube. I don't recommend it. I always just upload it to my photos, and then that's where it'll pop up here, and it just shows you. You can see that the resolution here is 3840 by 2160, which is basically your 4K footage, 24 frames per second. As you kind of go through, it's going to even tell your file size is going to be, so that do you have the space available? It even tells you right there what your available space is at the very bottom. I don't have a lot of space on this iPad, as you can see, which is why I use the external hard drive. And so then once you've got it all done, then you just hit that export button again there at the top right, and it will start writing the movie. And so at this point, you're done. It now exports an MP4 file for you to now be able to then upload to YouTube. That's it. How easy was that? Like I said, it doesn't have to be hard. I really hope if you made it this far, I really hope that you enjoyed seeing this, because I really just want everybody to know that editing doesn't have to be scary. It can be simple. So if this was useful to you, hit that like button to let other people know that anybody can start shooting video and uploading to YouTube if that's your goal. Like, don't let the fact that you don't have fancy gear like you see a lot of these creators doing. Like, to me, these iPhones and these different phones that they have out there are getting better and better and better every year. I've got no reason to upload because I like the flexibility of being able to take and edit and shoot video wherever I want to shoot. So if you want to see more videos like this, please let me know down in the comments. Let me know if there's certain things about editing that you're getting stuck on and that you want to see more of. I mean, there are a lot of different things I'm thinking about doing for tutorials, but if it's beneficial for you guys, just let me know. And if you like this content and this is useful to you, hit subscribe, because we got a lot more videos coming your way. Thanks for hanging out with me here for a bit, and hopefully we'll see you guys on the next one.